and we're so glad that you got this through. Unfortunately, the rest isn't quite here yet for you or for us, and I think, to our mind, the question really, I think it's helpful the way you brought out the dialogue that happened in the 11th hour around these issues. For the advocacy community and folks that are really trying, it's hard having someone who agrees with you, because how do we, not just preach to the choir and sit with you and talk about how we all agree. Well, how do we actually get some change on the other side? What do you think are the effective arguments and the effective strategies that the advocacy community, as providers, as folks seeking insurance, as you name it, can utilize to make sure that the Senate passes something that is equally open, and that perhaps can make sure that we still leave room for some of those last-minute negotiations on the House side to open up into a better outcome. So what can we do, and how can you help us do it?
Louise, probably the best way you can be helpful to us is to encourage all those people who took the time to make phone calls to the members of Congress that needed to understand this issue better. That kind of effort is still very important. I more than welcome phone calls to me and to other members in California who were already supportive of this. But that's not what we need. What we need is people to talk to members of Congress in the House and the Senate who may not be as familiar with this issue. And so the way you can be most helpful is if you've already done your letter writing or your calls or your emails and faxes, you must know someone who lives in some of these congressional districts or in some of these states where the senators or the congressional representatives aren't necessarily with us, don't totally understand the issue. And if you can get your friends and relatives who live in those areas to contact those representatives, that's the most helpful, because if you contact that congressman or congresswoman from that other state or that senator from that other state, they'll know whether they pay attention to you or not. It makes no difference, because you don't live and vote and work there, and so you're not their constituent. They need to hear from their constituents. And so the best way you can be helpful to us is to energize the constituents of those individual representatives and senators so that they hear from the folks who got them in office, who they represent, who work in the districts that these members and senators represent, so that they know that homegrown there's an effort to do the right thing.